Hello everybody, this is Master Johannesson from Iceland, and welcome to this video here on chess.com, and this series about checkmating patterns, intermediate checkmate patterns as we call it. And well, before going on, I would like to thank everybody for very nice feedback on the first video. I appreciate it very much. I hope you can keep making these and perfecting your patterns of checkmates. Well, and sort of in the spirit of the current economic situation, I will try to go for a special offer, 2 for 1. I'm going to try to give you 2 mating patterns in this video. So, without further ado, let's go on. And here I have set up the basic elements of our first mate. And our first mate is called boden's mate. And it's delivered with usually a bishop. Well, in its pure form, of course, with the bishop. And there's another bishop helping the bishop. And here you can see really the power of a bishop's companion. Note the long-range effort of the bishop against 2. Of course, it doesn't really matter where on the diagonal the bishop is. It can be on d6, e5, f4, g3, h2. And the bishop combines beautifully. And then we have 2 black pieces restricting the king on the other side of the bishop, making the check. The rook on d8 and the knight on d7. And for this to be a mate, I would like to note that we can't have a rook or a queen on d7 because, of course, when you could interpose on d7, and there can be anything except a knight on d8, which could interpose a check on b7. So, and this actually is called boden's mate because the first occurrence of this mate happened in a game played by an old master, Samuel Boden. And this is the game. He was black. And he should have won a piece here with d5. But white probably didn't notice the threat. He took the pawn on d5. And you see here the danger to the white king is completely out of squares. The rook and the knight restricted on the d-file, and the bishop covers the diagonal nicely. So here we have the boden's mate, which usually occurs with a queen sacrifice for c3, delivering the pure mate that I showed you in the first diagram. Such a mate can often occur in openings with pawn structures, like we see on the queen side, a7, b7, c6 here. Something that can occur in Scandinavian, some cover cons maybe, and possibly you can have something like this in like a Fort Knox French, but I would imagine that's a rare. And here black has kind of castled into it. Although actually I think this last move here was queen h5. Trying to get an exchange of queens, but white knew boden's mate and he delivered it with queen takes c6. Nothing to interpose on c7, so he has to take, and now bishop a6. And note this is always mate unless black can interpose something that's protected on c7. Say we have a bishop on a5, knight on e8. We can interpose on c7 and it's not checkmate. But here it's checkmate. Next, I'm going to show you a game from a simul between Alexander Alekhine and some unknown player, of course, because this was a simul, 1931. And this is to demonstrate that, well, the pattern in the examples that we have seen, usually the king is on the queen side, it's castle queen side. Because it's rare that king is on f8 on the king side. So usually this pattern only occurs on the queen side. However, it can also occur in the middle of the board, as we'll see here. Alekhine played bishop d3, and his opponent completely fell for it here with d6. Now realizing that there was a mate threat on the board, on the time to move, we see queen takes e6. Black could interpose on e7, but we just take. And also if it takes on f6, on e6, f takes e6. Then we have bishop to g6, and again, opponent's mate. And here, the king is in the middle, but it's all the same. The bishop do the same job, they control diagonals, and on the other side of the bishop, like in check, we have pieces restricting the king, and here the queen of d8 of course serves the same purpose as the rook usually does. The last example, well, Black sort of defeated himself. Black is Richardson playing against Jonathan Rawson, strong grandmaster from Scotland. And Black played c takes d4, opening up the diagonal for the bishop on a3. Of course, you realize what dire consequences that has, having seen the previous examples. But maybe Black thought for a while that White had to take on d4, and then he takes on c4. And what is my irate opponent thinking? Well, you should have thought of that before making the move, because you just got checkmated here. He takes e6, followed by g6, and boden's mate. So, a small reminder, sometimes if you think the high-rated opponent has blundered, it's usually too good to be true, and this was a case of that. Case of the Mondays. Here we have a slightly more complicated example, but having seen the previous examples, you should be able to figure it out. Black just played knight takes d4, and White can pretty much win by force here. Again, in all the examples, if you want, of course, you can pause the video and then come back. And the solution in this one is with just d4. Now, if Black doesn't take, he simply has lost a piece. And, well, that's the second best option. The best option is to resign, actually. And if he takes on d4, we have queen takes e6. And there's nothing to be done here. If you interpose the rook, you can take, and you can't even take because of the mate on e8. And if instead you interpose the knight, like Black did in the game, then we have the same old theme. This time we're not capturing anything on c6, but it doesn't matter. We make Black capture, and that's all that matters. And we deliver the beautiful bishop's mate, bishop a6, checkmate. And, well, although this is a mating pattern, knowing the mating pattern can help you to win some material. And one of my friends, he's an FM strong player. Well, actually, he's an IM now. Sorry, Busy. Didn't mean to offend you. He used to play some lines in the pawn scheme. Where he would basically get this pawn structure, c5 and d4, and the bishop on f4 on the long diagonal. And somehow he would always trick people in blitz games. He would get this position, and he would get the opportunity to play knight a5. Okay, this is not exactly the position, I can't remember the line, but in this fabricated position we have basically the pieces needed for this trick to work. And actually it's quite bad here because it's difficult to defend b7. But anyway, in a similar position, his opponents more often than not completely fell for it with queenside castles. And although it doesn't force mate, it wins material knight takes c6. Knight takes with c6 instead of the queen. And of course, because black can't take, as we all know by now, because of boden's mate, he's in deep trouble here. White is also threatening knight takes a7, which is checkmate, and taking the bishop on e7. So I don't think black has anything better than opening up the d8 square and attacking the bishop, but that allows knight takes a7, winning 2 pawns, and in this way he has won countless of blitz games. So knowing the tricks can help. A final example of boden's mate is not boden's mate in its pure form, but it's kind of like a cousin. We play queen takes e6, and usually f takes e6, and bishop g6 mate. And the reason this works here is we have an extra piece, the bishop on f8, taking care of the f8 square, which the bishop on the long diagonal usually does. And here, funnily enough, the knight on d5 takes care of e7, and just like in the normal mates, we have a rook and a knight constricting the black king, and therefore a checkmate. So this is kind of a boden lookalike mate, or cousin mate. And our last example of boden's mate, which means we are moving on to mate pattern number 2, in our excellent 2-for-1 special offer. And this one is called blackburns mate. And here I have sort of set up the skeleton for the mate. Usually we arrive at it via a queen sacrifice. In this position we can play queen takes h5, and after g takes h5 we complete blackburns mate with bishop takes h7. So this is basically the mate. Bishop on the one diagonal, knight on g5, protecting a bishop coming to h7 to checkmate. And of course a rook, or any piece actually, except a knight on f8, blocking the king from going to f8. Okay, we took a knight here, but actually I'm just going to demonstrate with some moves here. What this move said. We can also take a pawn on h5. Serves the same purpose. Followed by bishop h7, checkmate. Blackburns mate. Here's an example from a game. Some unknown German player, Seeker against Becker. Sincerely doubt that it's Boris Becker. Well, he might be good at chess. And here, white of course played queen takes h5. Since he also threatens mate on h7, there's not much to be done. White's going to win a piece at least. Black opted for a quick way out with g takes h5, allowing the mate. So that's the mate in the game, and here actually it's slightly different, but Knowing the pattern certainly helps here. After knight h5. Even though we don't have a bishop on the long diagonal, it still works. In this case we have a bishop on h6. And the bishop on h6 covers g7 and f8. And therefore we don't need the rook on f8. And also graciously the bishop on h8 has buried itself and therefore takes away the well, this was just a resignation type move by black here. He graciously allowed the mate here with g takes h5. And the bishop on h8 covers the escape square, as you can see. So even though the black squared bishop kind of changed diagonals, in this case it worked because of the bishop on h8. Although it's not exactly the same, so similar enough to consider it here, I think. I remember seeing this made in a textbook when I was young. Kind of the first game I saw it in was in a game between Icelandic Grandmaster Hannes Stephenson with white against strong Cuban Luzon with black. And okay, I ask you what is white's move here. And if you said queen takes h5, I'll give you some points for effort. You're paying attention. However, like they made us with queen takes g2. So it's not all clear cut. We have to pay attention. We have an opponent in chess, and it's not enough to see a pattern. We have to make sure it works. And Stephenson made it work with, you got it, bishop e4. Taking care of the mate in g2. And now after the queen moves, we are free to pursue our own plans with queen takes h5. Threatening mate on h7. I think in the actual game he resigned. If black takes on e4, the queen mates on h7. And if black takes the queen, we have blackburns mate. Bishop takes h7. Bishops do their job, the knight does its job, and a rook on f8. Preventing the king from escaping there. Now, let's see. If you know the pattern, you can apply it in different ways. And here we have a way to achieve blackburns mate. That's exactly what white did in this game. He played queen takes h6. Point of this is, of course, that pawn takes allows bishop takes h7, blackburns mate. In the game, black tried bishop f6, knight f6. But that's no good. White just took an f6. And no, black can't take on f6 because of the mate on h7 with the queen. He tried a spite check, but after knight d4, he was gracious enough to allow white to finish the job here with blackburns mate and bishop takes h7. Okay, this was our last example of blackburns mate, our last example in this lecture. I hope this helped, and hope to see you soon with some more intermediate mating patterns. Bye bye.